Our next guest, Steve Helwagen, Bucknuts.com, has covered many a Big Ten football and basketball media day with me. Steve, do you want to see 4 days of football media days like the Southeastern Conference has?
No. In fact, I think this is ridiculous that they moved ours to some far-flung 2-day thing that starts early on Monday and doesn't end until the end of the day on Tuesday. I'm going for both days, although Urban Meyer and the Ohio State guys won't even appear or be available till Tuesday. But, no, I think 1 day is enough.
Yeah.
Even for Big Ten football, I think 1 day is enough because in this day and age, most people are going just to talk to the players and the coach and the team that they cover. They're not going there typically to get a bunch of stuff from other people. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Give each coach 15 minutes at the podium, give everybody 2 hours at a table in one big room, and call it a day.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people beating down the door for the Lovie Smith exclusive interview, I don't think, this year.
No, not even the people in Champaign.
Hey, before we get to basketball and DJ Carton and what Chris Holtmann is doing in recruiting, we were just breaking the story or talking about Mike Kudla. Your memories of Mike Kudla playing defensive end for Ohio State. He was one. I was saying to Campy, he was one of those relentless guys. The two things I remember: he was unbelievably strong. Like everybody talked about his feats in the weight room, and on the field, he was kind of one of those relentless defensive ends. It's just tragic to see him go on at the age of 34, Steve.
Yeah, I'm really sad to hear this. Mike was a guy that when you would encounter him, he always had a smile on his face and would shake your hand and look you in the eye, and was just a great person to be around. And I think that the guys who played with him there in the 2000s from 02 to 05 would say he was a great teammate. You know, Matt, he was in a galaxy of stars when you think about it. The 2002 recruiting class is per capita one of the greatest ones Ohio State has ever had. You know, Maurice Clarett, Heisman Trophy winner Troy Smith, A.J. Hawk, Quinn Pitcock, Mangold, Mike DeAndrea was a big daddish, Antonio Holmes, Jay Richardson, Rob Sims, and on and on and on. And these guys, they won games at Ohio State. I think they played on 3 Big Ten championship teams. He was a starter his last 2 years, 04 and 05, and was just kind of a bull in the china shop, as you said. I mean, just a workout warrior and a guy that, people were just happy to be around. And one thing else I'll remember is in the 03 national championship game, I think there was a play late in the game where Ohio State made the mistake of punting to Miami, and he got a crackback block along the sideline. He was a freshman. He was out there trying to cover the punt, and he got just absolutely demolished. And it actually created some kind of a health or medical issue. He was in the hospital and lost a lot of weight over a period of time, and some people kind of put it back to that. Something happened, perhaps neurologically, I don't know, but that really impacted him for 03, but by 04 and 05, he was back in the swing of things and a starter 2 years for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, way too young to lose somebody at age 34. Mike Kudla passing away. Visiting with Steve Helwagen of Bucknuts and 24/7 Sports. Steve, wanted to have you on, though, to talk a little bit about basketball and the good news for Chris Holtmann over the weekend with the commitment of DJ Carton, one of the top point guards in the country in the 2019 class. How significant a get is this for Buckeye basketball?
Oh, it's transformational. I mean, if he stays 2, 3 years, 4 years, he could have a chance. Ohio State with Coach Holtmann, they really have kind of landed on the ground here after the floundering the last 3 years, perhaps under Thad Matta. And I think Coach Holtmann has really hit the ground running now in his 13 months on the job, and this is evidence of it. This is the first time they're going to have 2 national top 30 prospects in the same class, because they've got Alonzo Gaffney as well at number 30 in this class. First time that has happened in 5 years, back to D'Angelo Russell and Keita Bates-Diop were both national top 30 players that year. And you think about a few others, Jared Sullinger and Deshaun Thomas in 2010, B.J. Mullins and Will Buford in 08. And then you had 3 of them in 2006 with Greg Oden. He was number 1, Daquan Cook and Mike Conley. And I guess just the what you learn out of this is that, again, the quality of the product that you put in is going to equate to the quality of the results you get out. And all those guys won Big Ten championships and played in the NCAA and so on. So, yeah, I think this is significant from that regard. They have one spot left, but as far as Carton, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's going to set other people up and is also capable of scoring on his own, whether behind the three-point line or at 6'2", even getting to the basket. So I think that is significant, and I think to take him away from Indiana and Michigan at the last minute was just nothing but a stroke of brilliance, I guess, for Coach Holtman and his assistants. And now they've got one spot to fill for that 2019 class, guys who are going to be high school seniors. And my guess, Matt, is they're probably looking for a power forward or a center to go along with Gaffney, who I think most people view as a small forward, probably like a LaQuinton Ross or a Keita Bates-Diop type, and Carton at the point guard.
When you think about a DJ Carton, he's a lefty, as I believe. Am I correct on that? And what stands out about his game, Steve?
Well, he's a great ball handler. I think what people have found is he's a guy that has gradually improved, and one of the things that came up, he plays on a travel team out of Iowa. He lives in what is travel, and they've done very well on some of the travel circuit. But he was invited in May for the under-18 Team USA that played in the FIBA championships up in Canada. He didn't make the final 12 for that, but he was regarded as one of the best players in that tryout, and then went to the NBA Players Association camp, the top 100 camp they call it, in June, and was regarded as one of the top point guards there. So he has steadily risen from like national 100 all the way up to number 21 overall, number 2 point guard in the country. And as I say, he's a leader, guy who's going to get other people the ball, but is also more than capable of putting the ball in the basket when that time comes. And coming out of high school, I think you have to put him in that short list with a Mike Conley or an Aaron Kraft, guys, outstanding point guards at the previous level who have a chance to show that at the college level. Will he be a guy that pans out like those guys do? Only the future will tell, but it's obviously a great thing to get him away from your two rivals, Michigan and Indiana in particular.
You think about where this program was 1 year ago, Steve, and Chris Holtman had been on the job for about a month. Remember, after they got him, Braxton Beverly left. They lost. Dane Goodwin was committed to Ohio State for 4 years, basically, and then he decommits, ends up going to Notre Dame. And at one point, they had like 8 guys on the roster. He scrambled and got Musa Jallo and settled things down. Andrew Dockich turned into a significant get. They have the year that they had that was surprising. Keita rises to his level. And now this in recruiting, where you follow it up with Gaffney and now DJ Carton, the momentum that he has built up, Chris Holtman I'm talking about, in the span of years is really quite remarkable if you think back where this program was 1 year ago.
Oh, it's nothing short of night and day. I think that the dark cloud has been lifted, and that's nothing to say anything negative about Thad Matta,
right,
his assistants, or most of the players that he had recruited there. I think there were a couple of bad eggs in there the last 3 years that kind of tainted the whole thing. But I think you look at it, and just from a broad stroke, I think Indiana, I think Michigan playing for the national championship this past season, that can't be understated. Nobody from the Big Ten has won the national championship since Michigan State in 2000. This is a supposed major conference, and it's 17 years now that no Big Ten team has won the championship, although Ohio State, Illinois, Michigan State, Indiana have all gotten to the championship game and couldn't get it done. Well, the coaches they've got in the Big Ten right now are recruiting at a level that I think we're going to have that breakthrough. And I think the race is now on. Will it be Michigan? Will it be Ohio State? Will it be Michigan State again? Will it be Indiana? Who's it going to be? And I think Ohio State is positioning itself to be the program that makes that final step and brings home that that trophy as a national champion, I think, at some point, based on the guys he's recruiting, based on the guys that they are in on. I think, we haven't talked about it, but potentially the one guy they could add to this class, his name is E.J. Liddell. He is from just outside Chicago, Illinois, and he's a national top 50 prospect. He's got everybody after him. Duke is now even involved with him. And so he's got an official visit set to Ohio State September the 1st when the Buckeyes play Oregon State in football. So it'll be a real interesting thing if they can get him in and get him like they did with Carton and show him the advantages of Ohio State and get him as that last piece of the puzzle. You'd have a great program, and then you have a head start on 2020, obviously, and get after players in that class as well. But, I think things are definitely on the upswing, not only for Ohio State, but the Big Ten as a whole. And that rising tide, I think one of those boats is going to get across that finish line one of these days.
I would love it to be Ohio State, Steve. That is on
well,
my...
You certainly don't want it to be Michigan or Indiana. I mean...
on my sports fandom bucket list... That's the one thing that's missing is Ohio State basketball in my lifetime winning a national title. My favorite baseball team is the White Sox. They got it done in 2005. My favorite NFL team is the Saints. They got it done in 2009. We know Ohio State football. We've seen them win a couple of national titles in my lifetime. Ohio State basketball is a true passion of mine. They've gotten to a couple Final Fours with Thad. They got to a Final Four with Jim O'Brien. They got to a championship game. Haven't gotten over the hump. That's the one thing missing from my resume, and I hope you're right, man. I hope I hope that's where we're headed right now.
One last thing I would add is, you think about, Gary Williams was the coach, and he went on and won a championship at his alma mater at Maryland. Randy Ayers replaced him and had a few good years, but Jim O'Brien was an upgrade on Randy Ayers in his last 5 years, and then Thad Matta was certainly an upgrade on Jim O'Brien. And then, obviously, his health and everything. But Holtman is an upgrade on Mata over the last 3 years of that tenure, certainly.
Right.
Whether he turns out to have the success Mata had the first 8 or 9 years, we'll see. But I think Holtman is an upgrade, and I think that it is really starting to show itself. When you get a national top 25 point guard, this is a guy who these point guards typically aren't one-and-done players because – 6'2" guys, it's hard to make that transition to the NBA. You've got to be a Mike Conley, a special player. So a point guard can typically stay 2 to 3 years at the college level.
Yep. Let's hope that he does and that they can make it happen. Steve, great stuff. Really appreciate it, and thanks for taking a few minutes.
All right, Matt. Take care.